Welcome to tonight's Finance Committee. Tonight is February 27th. We've got members on Zoom, so we'll begin the meeting with a roll call vote. Adrian?
Here.
Audrey?
Here.
Brian? You know Denny is out tonight. I am here. Jean?
Here.
Josette?
Here.
Kathleen?
Here.
Larry?
Here.
Leanne?
Here.
Lisa?
Here.
Mark Sullivan?
Here.
Mark Trudell?
Here.
Scott?
Here.
Steve?
Here.
All right. We've got 5 articles on tonight's agenda. Pat, I don't know if you want me to delay anymore. Or we, looks like we don't really have much to discuss. Oh, there he is.
Need to clone you?
What?
Need to clone you? Bouncing from meeting to meeting?
That's the way it is.
So before we get into the articles, Jim, we've done attendance and all that good stuff. Is there anything you want to begin with? Or should
No,
we
just
get into-
the one easy piece of business on your agenda tonight is a prior year unpaid bills. I'd recommend no action on that at this time. And if something comes up, we can always come back and vote on it. So, and the only other piece is the packet for Thursday night. I sent out to everyone, but if you'd like a hard copy, I know you want one, Josette. I made like 5 or 6, but not everyone grabs a hard copy. Just if you want one, grab one on the way out, and if I run out of copies, I'll make more. That's it.
All right. Then I guess our first article is the Eastland Circle. So if you guys could step up to the table.
One up here. Hello, my name is Kathy Feely. I live at 5 Eastland Circle, which is a 4-house dead end off it's off of Washington Street between Pilgrim and Polly Lane. And we have 4 houses, and we have four families here tonight representing our street. So basically, I've lived on Eastland Circle for 30 years, and back in 2000, we had requested funds to be appropriated as a betterment to basically upgrade the water line because our water pressure was very poor. We had septic systems, so we asked for sewer, and we had planned for drainage, which is a serious issue on our street, as well as paving. And what happened was, it had all gone through, and the money was appropriated at town meeting. However, one of the 4 neighbors decided, who no longer lives on Eastland Circle, at the last minute pulled out due to his retirement and finances, that he was worried about affording it. So when he pulled out, basically, the project just sat stagnant with the funds being held. So several years ago, how long was it, 5, 6 years ago, when we had the water main upgraded from an old spaghetti line to a standard town water line, as well as sewer installed on our street. So what we are requesting is that if the money back then that was appropriated was $131,000, which would have covered the entire project in the year 2000. As you all know, everything has gotten triple the expense. So we are requesting the remaining funds to be able to borrow that money as a betterment, to finish off the project with catch basins, address the drainage, which is a very serious issue, and also to pave the road. So that would be what we're requesting tonight. So you should have your package in front of you. If you have any questions, Brian Cotter has lived there on our street 46 years?
46, yeah.
46 years.
Still going strong.
And the road has just become more and more difficult and impassable. Because gravel has been brought in over all these decades, the road is now cupped so that it's higher in the middle than on the edges. So when it rains, or especially if it's frozen ground, it's a sheet of ice, and then the water flows into the edges of the whole road on both sides. So I remember years ago, I had a baby shower at my house, and I had to go and buy sheets of plywood and line the whole edge of my property so that people could park on the street to be able to get into my house. We've also had, most of our neighbors now drive to the bus stop, especially in the wintertime, because it's usually a sheet of ice, because the plows can't get to the base of it, and the salt doesn't seem to melt it the way a normal paved road would. We also always have a lot of potholes. We've had the FedEx driver fell on his back this past winter, and we have, the mail truck has routinely gotten stuck on Eastland Circle, and we've had a few bad falls on our street. So I think that's basically everything, unless you want to add
I mean,
anything.
I think that, the town has done a very nice job at supporting us as far as helping, smooth the road out, so to speak. But what is happening is, I don't know if it's just over time or the drainage, but the potholes like magically appear like shortly after the town comes, and they're deeper, and they cover the whole road. You cannot drive down the road straight, you just can't. And really, it's even like to take your dog out for a walk and things like that, it's, my dog's about this tall, so we'll go down the road and she'll just disappear. So it's an ongoing, it's an ongoing problem, so we're hopeful that we'll have a solution to that.
Before questions, Jim, I've never been through the betterment process before. Could you explain a little bit about what seems straightforward?
Actually,
but-
the first time I've been through it since I've been here, we haven't done it in a really long time, but it's my understanding, basically, we would get the authorization through town meeting, since this is a citizen petition. They go forward, let's say it cost $120,000 in the town's estimates or whatever. I think, what did it, Kathy, was it?
For this project, 185,000.
185,000. Let's say it cost, the estimates say it comes in at 185,000. We go out, we get the work done and everything, and I think it's over a 20-year note, whatever it comes in. If it ends up coming in at 120, we'd assess it among the 4 houses down there, and they would just pay it as part of their, like if they came in and paid their taxes or their water bills or something like that.
So it would be a 20-year loan,
I
not
believe
30
it's 20
years?
year, yeah.
And who hires the contractor?
It would be the town's responsibility.
responsibility.
Yeah.
And so
That's why
our-
we would be able to issue a betterment against
Okay.
them.
And our engineers and everything would,
Carl actually provided Kathy with the figure, so. And Rick's well aware of it. We've worked.
Yeah,
side by
that's
side
part of
with
my
them.
thank
It's
you,
one of
too,
those-
is to Rick Mattson and Carl Baldoff and the county engineers who did the original plan of Eastland Circle at no charge. So we're very appreciative of all
But
of
none
that.
of this is a surprise to us. We've been working on it for years, it seems like, so.
That was one thing Maggie Walker, the town engineer, said, I just want to do this before I retire. And unfortunately, it didn't happen.
So is it a town road?
No, it's a private way,
It's a private way?
yes.
And that's why it has to be done through a betterment or something like that. We can, like, it's not considered as part of our inventory for the Chapter 90 roads that we get reimbursed, so.
Do we plow, or you do your own plow?
The town plows in order to have safety vehicles get to our street. But originally, when I had moved in, we had no mail delivery. We did not have trash pickup. So we do have that. I don't think the mail carrier likes to come down our street, but we do have mailboxes. And
So from the town standpoint, you're able to borrow the money from the town at more favorable rates than you would if you were going out and doing it yourself. And also, but the town also, does it remain a private road?
It would remain, because it's never been accepted as a town road. I'm actually thinking of Jack years ago. You had one of, when he used to live on, over there, what road? Yeah.
Ashram Road.
Ashram Road. They came before us and had it accepted as a town road at the time, so.
When the betterment gets priced up, do they price up like what it would cost for the town to oversee the work being done?
Yeah, Carl gave them like a very.
I have the whole
conservative estimate,
breakdown.
Yeah. So, we had inflation in there and everything, so I'm optimistic that it's gonna come in much lower than the 185.
Okay, thank you.
Through you. Jim, I'm not sure if this is a question for you or for the petitioners, but are we looking at a chip seal or a true hard top for the roadway?
I don't know what Carl quoted them.
I will tell you.
I can get you that.
Okay. Yeah. And the other is,
I believe it wouldn't be a chip seal, no, now that I think about it, because chip seal is going over the old road. It's a dirt road there now, so they
Okay.
need to.
So it would be, first time through, it'll be a true asphalt road? Okay.
Asphalt, yes.
Yeah, with curbing?
It's going to have an asphalt berm,
Okay.
because we're not going to have the road to a true width standard, so cars could be able to go over the bump of the small berm to be able to have two cars still go by.
Okay, so the berm will help with the drainage
Yes.
issues, but it's still so cars can get by each other?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have septic or storage? I'm assuming it's septic.
Well, no, that was what we did several years ago. We had a sewer line put onto Eastland Circle, and the two of us, we hooked onto the sewer right away, and then
Still on septic.
they had newer septic tanks, and yours, I think you had done a lot of work to it.
Yeah.
And did
Yeah,
you
so
too? I think that,
There was an upgrade before we bought that was done.
that's right.
The addition.
Yeah. So they did not do that yet. We both did.
So there's no, hypothetically, if the approval goes through, the road would not be torn up again to put in storage, because the storage line is there for those who want to do it.
Correct.
Yes.
There are the individual services that exist for our homes as well, off that main.
And I believe they fall where the road paving would not be closer to the home.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
I just have one other question. So it was approved in 2000. So now it's 2023. Why have you waited 23 years to come back?
We really haven't waited. We had difficulty where it had been approved. We were actually laying out the whole street with, we were going to not have lampposts and wave sidewalks, et cetera. We had it all laid out. And then at the last second was when the neighbor came to the final planning meeting and decided that he couldn't afford to do the project. So he backed out. And then, I don't recall specifically why. I know Maggie Walker was very busy with projects in the town, and I don't have a specific reason why.
My last question is, so does this have to go before the planning board and everything, or is it pretty much like a done deal? Like, there's going to be no additional approvals or added requirements onto
Well,
it?
it's not a formally accepted road. They're doing it, they're asking for it as a betterment, so I don't know for sure, but I don't believe so.
Okay, so if the town went forward with it, we agree, town approves it, there's no further approvals that would come after that where,
No town
They
meeting
would-
approval.
what's that?
No town meeting approval. If town meeting were to approve this for these folks, it's in place there. I just don't know whether or not they'd have to go before the planning board for any type of review. But as I think through it, Mark, the road commissioner is the select board. The houses and the lots are already laid out, so I don't think they have any reason to go before the planning board.
Okay, no, I was, yeah, my only question was,
We're not.
could there be a
accepting the road.
situation where the town meeting approves it, and then there's final road approvals, and there's additional costs, and you have to come back again? So that doesn't seem to be the
No, because
case.
whatever the
Okay.
cost is, we're gonna issue a betterment against them once we get the final bill and everything.
Okay.
And I also just wanted to mention that Carl Baldoff spoke at a recent Conservation Commission meeting, and it was approved by them as well for this project.
So hypothetically, we give approval. Does this now go back to the selectmen, or it stops here till town meeting?
In my head, what I would see is, you give the approval, vote yes to this article. But obviously, the select board would make a recommendation too. I don't see them not recommending it. We go to town meeting, I think the plan is we're gonna try to get it done with the other streets this year, so, and group it in, try to get a better rate and everything.
Under
So-
the Chapter 90?
Under the paving contract,
The
because some of the
paving, okay.
things, under our paving contract, we get the Chapter 90 money, We also get that stack of free cash money. I think it was about 600,000 this past fall that was approved. We'd lump this in there to to group them together, get a better rate, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Lisa?
I was a little confused as well about the difference between a private way and a town-owned road. I hate that your road is in such bad condition and that it's dangerous. You know, citizens of Walpole should not have to be dealing with that. But if you were ever to become a town-owned road, would we then need to build the road to a higher standard where this project?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so.
So is that something we should be thinking about long-term?
Even more expensive, honestly.
Well, also, you really couldn't build the road anyhow to the town standard because it was laid out originally as a cul-de-sac, which that's just wouldn't work. The neighbors at the end would be stepping off their front step onto a huge cul-de-sac, and it's a fairly short road with only 4 houses. Also, the width of the road would make it very, very expensive for us to do if we had a standard width. You also technically would have to have a sidewalk. There are a lot of things that you would have to do to have it as a public street.
Okay.
So we're doing it, safely and what makes sense for a 4-house dead end.
Thank you.
Do you have hydrants?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We had a brand-new one put in when the water main was done.
So for a betterment, so these 4 houses will be charged for this, correct? If someone sells, does that house still gets part of that? Okay, great.
Larry?
Just so you know, the betterment stays with the house.
Okay.
If they try to convey it, they either pay it off, or the buyer would have to assume the betterment and just continue to make the payments. Typically, in a real estate transaction like that, often that's part of the negotiation in the price.
Okay.
So, but it's basically the betterment's almost a lien, in a sense, on the property. It doesn't go away.
I stopped myself a couple times from calling it a lien.
It is essentially. I mean, if they don't pay it, then the town would put an official lien on it, but in essence, when they someone conveys it, the title search is gonna come up and say, there's a betterment on the property, it's recorded, they have to deal with it.
Great.
Anyone else? Larry?
Are we voting?
I would like you to.
I'll make a motion for favorable action.
Second?
All right. And Adrian? That's a yes. Audrey?
Yes.
Brian is not here. Denny is not here. I am a yes. Jean?
Yes.
Josette?
Yes,
Kathleen? Can't hear you? That's a,
that's a yes.
okay.
Yep.
Larry?
She said yes.
It's
Yes.
muted.
Leanne?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Mark Sullivan?
Yes.
Mark Trudell?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
And Steve?
Yes.
All right. 1300. All right, thank you very much.
So much. Thank you. Thank you all. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Lucky guys.
Well, I know the street. It's-
Jim, just for reference, is the warrant that you gave us the correct numbering?
With the exception of that article.
Exception of this
So
article.
that's gonna be Article 32 you just voted on. We had to put something in for an easement for the middle school.
Okay. Article 32. I was looking at the list and it's like, you didn't put a number on it.
It always changes.
This is in a hurry, she's already taken her seat, she's ready to go.
All right, we have Article 19, the town clerk corrective action.
So this, Article 19 was recommended to me by KP Law to submit it for your approval so that we could avoid having to revote articles at town meeting, because after they've been voted on, we realize there's an error, it's been numbered incorrectly, something else hasn't been seen right, and they're just a Scrivener's error, not the intent of the article. So what we're looking for is to give me the authority to do that after we have brought it to the board that it might go to, or the committee, and then also with a select board vote. After they all have seen it and have agreed to, if there is, that change truly is deemed as a Scrivener's error for all of them, that then they would then allow me the permission to renumber, correct the spelling, or take care of the duplicate language that might be found inside those articles. I have nothing on the agenda right now that needs to be fixed. Thank you, Doug. So I think that we should be good.
Mark?
Would this have to all take place before it goes to the State House for any changes? Or if the State House finds something, it could come back and go through this process equally?
So anything I send from town meeting usually goes to the Attorney General?
Okay.
Okay, so would they find something? They could, absolutely.
But it
and
can
then
come back through this process, not have to
Exactly,
go
right.
and redo the whole process.
And they've caught things before, and they've just made the changes, like,
Themselves, yeah.
and just told us we made these changes, like,
Yeah.
didn't ask. you
That's
okay
right.
with this?
Punctuation and capitalization, yeah, they just do it on their own.
Exactly, so it comes down to that.
So you're the spell check.
I am, and, sometimes I'm very good at it, as I am trying to watch it. I'm watching a lot of things when I'm looking at the warrant, and then to do the articles. There's a lot in this one coming up, actually, for all those zoning articles, so I'm going to hope those tables are correct, but that's when we'll end up finding things there, too, that it might just not be numbered or lettered correctly after it's been numbered.
And Lisa?
I think it would be delightful to vote on an article that actually has the word Scrivener in it. Probably a first for all of us, and it makes perfect sense.
I agree. It seems very administrative, and it looks like it'll help expedite some of those legislative actions. So.
Right, and it's just not me going out there rogue. There'd be a lot of people looking at it before we decided.
So all the corrections are caught in editorial notes at the bottom, footnotes? That's,
They would be, then I would right, exactly. So after the article, if we had to make any changes, and I would send it off to E-code or general code, they would then note how that change came to be and when we changed that. So there would be a date and the reason why we did it. Yeah, they're very good like that.
I see a hand up.
Got the one this way.
Mark?
Who determines whether the material, how material it is as far as the correction?
Well, it might have got printed in the warrant, and then they're going to say, oh, it shouldn't have gone like that. The only one I can think of really that's on the top of my head that it was when we just redid the conservation one, if not last town meeting, 2 town meetings ago, and Landis had come down to me, and it all had to be renumbered. I said, then it has to go to town meeting, because it didn't follow when the book ended up getting codified. So she had one set, we had another, and she was using her set, but the codification had it one way, the warrant read the other way, so.
I guess, well, actually, let me kind of rephrase. So it's town meeting, someone gets up and says, so the town meeting approves something, does this give the town clerk the authority to possibly rewrite what the town meeting approved in an article?
No.
or what?
No, it would just be the misspellings, the incorrectness, and at that, like I told you, I would have to go before that board. Say if it was Concom, I'd say, this is how it got voted. Was this your intent? Because it doesn't match what we have. They would take a vote, I then would take it to the select board. They'd all have to say it's okay, then I'd send it into E-code.
Okay, so
to
there's a
have it
check on any correct, okay.
Exactly,
Great,
yes,
thanks.
exactly.
I'm all set.
Okay.
Mark?
Jim, is this just a procedural authorization, or is this a bylaw change?
This is a procedural authorization.
I was just trying to visualize how it gets memorialized and how people can draw upon it going forward. Okay.
Anyone else? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
We've got Mark and Scott. Adrian?
Yes.
Audrey?
Yes.
Brian is gone, Denny is gone, I'm a yes. Jean?
Yes.
Josette?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Leanne?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Mark Sullivan?
Yes.
Mark Trudell?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
All right. 1300. The article is accepted. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please.
Evening.
Welcome.
Jack, we have some new members. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Okay, I'm Jack Fisher. I'm Chairman of the Board of Assessors. And we've been asked to sponsor two articles. I think it's Article 20 and 21, which have to do with senior exemptions. Walpole, under Mass General Law, has for years offered senior exemptions. Right now, the two that are most important right now are 17D and 41C. And what that does is that provides tax relief to seniors that meet certain criteria. The issue right now is that criteria has not changed for literally years, if not decades. And so what we've seen over the last 10 years as examples is a significant decrease in the number of senior exemptions that we have been able to authorize. For example, under 17D, in 2011, we authorized 19. Last year, we authorized 7. In 2011, for 41C, we authorized 50. Last year, we authorized 15. And the reason is the base hasn't increased. So in the last 2 years, the legislature has approved a modification to it that allows the base for these exemptions, which are asset levels and incomes, to be increased based upon the cost of living. It requires a positive vote by town meeting. Once that's voted on, the Department of Revenue will set the increase based upon the cost of living every year, and that will automatically ratchet up the base for asset levels and income levels. And so I think it's now is a good time. Things are tough out there, and when you see that kind of a decrease, 2/3 of the number of exemptions that have been given to seniors reducing by over 2/3 over the last 10 years, it tells you something about the way that we've been able to award it. And it makes sense right now to index the asset level and the income level to the cost of living. So that is our recommendation to adopt in Article 20, Clause 17E, and in 21, Clause 41D of Mass General Law.
So we've already accepted the limits, the actions. This is just approving it for the inflation piece?
Right, but it's been fixed for at least 15 years, the base amounts. And the base amounts are dependent on whether you're in Chapter 41, 41A, B, C. And so we've gone up to 41C, so that's increased a little bit, but it doesn't increase the base based upon the cost of living. So we're at the maximum that we can do right now, and unless we can go ahead and index it to the cost of living, we're probably going to continue to see the decline in senior exemptions for those that really need it. Any questions at all? I'll be happy to answer them.
All right.
Hi, Jack. Is the exemption, they just pay less taxes, or is that exemption added to the tax bill, in a sense, pushed down the line, so when they convey the property, those exemptions are then repaid?
No. It basically reduces their tax bill.
Okay.
Okay. It's not a loan from the town in that sense.
It's,
So if you get a $500 exemption, that reduces your tax bill by $500.
okay. And minors, how does that work? I mean, minors, in other words, I get the premise of senior citizens, but it says surviving spouse, which I get, or minor child. In other words, the child is underage and they, when they become of 18 legal age, does that exemption go away?
I'll have to say, I think you're right. I don't think we have any in which a minor child is the property owner because the parents have deceased or have abandoned them. I can't think of any instance where we've had that in my time on the board, anyway.
Thank you.
Scott?
Is that example of $500, is that per quarter, per tax bill, or is that for the whole year?
Based upon it's an annual exemption.
It's an annual
So
exemption.
whatever they get, and normally what that does is that comes into play for the third and fourth quarter tax bills. So that'd be in the January tax bill and the April tax bill.
Okay.
Lisa?
Sort of going off of what Larry was calling your attention to, the surviving minor child thing, it really is kind of illogical to say that you must be a surviving minor child over 65 years of age. But presumably that's existing language in Clause 17D, and that's something that would be handled with a bylaw amendment or correction and not part of this article.
No, the article is to adopt 17D in its entirety. So you're adopting the surviving minor child.
Okay, that is not, that can't be right, because the sentence says, must be a surviving spouse or surviving minor child and be over 65 years of age.
I'll have to look into that. Like I said, I can't think of a single instance in my time on the board that
Or you're a
we.
minor and over 65. No, but that's why we have Elizabeth Gaffey's new thing where she can fix it after the fact.
Can I ask a question? The domicile, that's the primary residence, like
Yes.
defines them. Okay.
Has to be their primary residence, and depending upon whether it's Clause 17 or 40, it's a different amount of time. But that's the state legislature.
Jack, is this something that a senior would have to apply for, or is it automatically done through the tax?
They have to apply for it, because
They
they have to provide the documentation.
Okay, so there's documentation to validate everything,
Right.
whatever is needed.
I mean, we don't ask them for a birth certificate unless someone comes in and they look like they're 30 and they're saying that they're 75, which doesn't happen. But we do ask for income limits and asset levels.
Residency play any part in it, the time of residency in the town?
Sorry?
Residency?
It's 5 years. We pretty much take their word for it. I mean,
Okay.
we can easily go, I shouldn't say that. We can easily go back and see, based upon the deed and the tax bills, how long they've lived there and if have they met the minimum.
Okay.
So let me stand corrected, that is verified.
Is this something also they have to apply for annually?
Yes.
Or once they do it, it stays
It has to be done annually because the asset limits and the income limits can change.
true?
Okay? I mean, we know that you're a year older, but we don't know if you're making $10,000 more or $10,000 less.
If, hypothetically, if we had more industry in this community, would we be in a different situation as far as adjustments for seniors on taxes?
No, because the amount is the amount that, whether you get the exemption or not is dependent upon whether you meet the state rules, which is for asset limits, age, domicile, all those other things here. The amount that you get, it varies depending upon whether you're doing it as a couple, as a single individual, and how long you've had that exemption, because that'll adjust slightly over a period of time. So the amount of money raised by taxation is independent of these exemptions. If all of a sudden, we had 3 more Siemens come in and the taxes went up, the increase in tax revenue increased by double, it wouldn't affect us at all.
Okay, thank you.
Leanne?
When you were giving us some of the data about how it's decreased over, to the last 10 years, are there other towns that have adopted and the COLA increase, or are we late to the party, if you will, on this?
I just don't remember. I know we talked about this, and I know there are several towns in the area that have adopted it. I don't know what's going on in their Springtown meeting warrants, but I can tell you it's more than one or two, but it's not dozens. So, if you want, I can get an exact number, but there are several in the communities in the area that are adopting it. And it's for good reason, for the same reasons that we are.
Larry?
Maybe Jack or Jim, what's the cost? I mean, what do we forego by granting this every year? A couple grand, or I don't know, I'm guessing.
The assessors are sponsoring it, I don't, off the top of my head, but we can certainly find out.
I can tell you, for fiscal '22, we awarded the 7 that we awarded, the total cost of those exemptions was $2,275.
Thank you.
For the 41Ds, for the 41Cs rather, it was 15, and that was $28,000. So,
Why, one's about $300 and the other one's 1,000 or more.
yeah, I mean, there's no way to tell exactly how many more people are going to come in. I would expect, this is just my personal opinion, I would expect the first year, you're going to get a few more people in, not a lot, because it's only going up, I think the estimated increase is 7%, the approved increase by the Department of Revenue is 7%. So is 7% going to all of a sudden cause the number of exemptions to double? No. I'd be astonished if that happened. However, over a 5 or 10-year period of time, you're going to start to see it increase more and more because the baseline limits are going to go up more and more.
I think Mark Sullivan had his hand up.
I'm just curious, I'm looking at this sheet here, and it says, in FY '22, the assessor's office granted 240 exemptions for a total of roughly $70,000.
Right. That was all of them. For example, there was 133 veterans.
Oh, I see, so there's a whole pool of people
Right.
that get exemptions.
Yeah, there's the seniors, there's the veterans, there's the blind, there's
It's quite a few.
we have one in town that's the surviving spouse of a deceased police officer that was killed in the line of duty. There's all, I mean,
So there's a whole,
there's a
okay,
page and a half of exemptions.
all right, thank you.
Through you. So on these exemptions, are they all mutually exclusive, or if you take one, you can't take another?
It's a good question.
I know the veterans stacks, but on the other ones, I mean, one of them, you've got an income limit and an asset limit, which only gives you a small exemption, and the other one is strictly on assets and gives you a larger, or vice versa. Yeah.
So the veterans are stacked, blind stacked, so forth like that, disabled. The hardship ones do, deferred taxes don't stack. On these, whether we're 41C and, 41D and 17F, let me just check something quickly. They don't stack.
So 41C, which has an income threshold, obviously, we're giving you a bigger benefit because you're making less income. On 17D, we're not touching your income, but based on your assets, you're going to get a small deduction, or a small credit. Okay.
I'll be honest with you, I don't say it makes sense, but that's what the legislature passed.
Well, actually, that does make sense. If you're making less money, we're going to give you more of a credit. I mean, a person could have very few assets, but have a sizable income and be able to afford the taxes. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Anyone else on 20 or 21? Anyone want to make a motion to accept 20?
I'll make a motion to accept Article 20.
Second.
Scott is one, Mark is two. All right. Adrian? That's a yes. Audrey?
Yes.
I am a yes. Jean?
Yes.
Josette?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Leanne?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Mark Sullivan,
Yes.
Mark Trudell,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Now, is there a motion for Article 21?
So moved.
And a second?
Mark, that, sorry, Doug, that was 13-0.
13-0.
Yes. Yep.
Second?
That is a second. Right, Adrian? Audrey?
Yes.
I am a yes. Jean?
Yes.
Josette?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Leanne?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Mark Sullivan?
Yes.
Mark Trudell?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
And Steve?
Yes.
That's, again, 13-0. I think thank you very much.
Okay, thanks very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Aside from minutes, that's the,
Just if you, would you mind voting on Article 10? Unpaid
oh, do we
bills?
have to vote on 10 too?
Yeah, recommend no action on Article 10.
Would anybody like to make that motion?
Motion for no action on
Motion
Article
for no
10.
Second?
Kathleen has.
I'll second.
Oh. Is that a second, or is that a question?
That was a second.
Okay.
Okay.
Adrian, this is for no action on Article 10. That's a yes. Audrey?
Yes.
I am a yes. Jean?
Yes.
Josette?
Yes.
Kathleen?
I'm a yes.
Thank you. Larry?
Yes.
Leanne?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Mark Sullivan?
Yes.
Mark Trudell?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
13-0 on no action for Article 10. So that, with the exception of minutes, is tonight's agenda. Is there anything about Thursday night before we get into the minutes?
No, just that, as I mentioned, the memo's all set to go, was sent out. I tried to cover, it's pretty thick, I tried to cover a lot in there. Obviously, snow and ice. I think at this time I'd recommend no action. I'm not gonna think, I am going to recommend no action at this time. We can always reconsider it if necessary. We have about 620,000 left in there. Obviously, we're gonna get a storm tonight, and just got a text from the superintendent. She's delaying school right now for two hours, and we are probably gonna get one over the weekend, but I don't expect, it's gonna be March, so I don't expect we'll have to dip into it. And then Walpole Media Corp., which we got their budget, I sent it out, and all the backup documents. Surplus properties, I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions and discussion. I would encourage you to tune into the select board meeting tomorrow night, or just show up if you'd like to listen firsthand from the group that we hired to review that building once again. But if you can't, I have included all the materials for that building in there. And then just some water and sewer budgets, and pretty straightforward.
Do we have people coming from water and sewer, or
Scott and Rick will be there. I'm pretty sure John Hassenjager and Bill Abbott will be here too. And,
Jim, quick question on sewer and water. Current year budgets, I didn't see any documentation in your preliminary release. Are they on pace to do okay?
Yeah, they are. So we'll likely recommend no action on that. So.
And second, I know we had engaged review/audit of the indirect costs. Can you do a quick presentation on that Thursday night as to how our audit paired up to what we were actually charging?
For the
sewer and water indirects that we charge from municipal back to the enterprise funds?
Oh, yeah. I'll give you the report if I get into the details. So we did commission a report.
Yeah.
It was presented to the commissioners. The formulas we're using now goes with that report, so I can certainly share that with you. And then if, obviously, you'd like to review it further publicly, I'm fine with it, but it's pretty detailed.
Okay, thanks.
Can I ask an administrative question? So when I came in last week, I missed 2 meetings, and I came in and you two weren't aware of it, but I had emailed the chair about it. And the first was because there's no Zoom option, and now there is. Thank you, Patrick. But the second was because of a work conflict. How do you want us to notify you if we're going to do a Zoom option versus not going to be at these meetings? How does that work? I had emailed the chair, and he had emailed the whole group.
Yeah, and
it seemed like you weren't aware.
I think that night there was a lot of emails going back and forth,
Sure.
and I just missed it.
Okay.
And
But that's the
so
appropriate way to
typically,
do it?
yeah, you just email Denny, and tonight he wasn't here to give us that
Okay,
information.
just
so,
making sure I was
yeah.
doing the right thing.
Yep.
And I think where Patrick has set up the Zoom for the rest of the
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
I think that makes it so much easier for everybody.
And do you want people to email everyone if they're participating via Zoom or just?
No, I think just Denny, he tends to pass it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you are not attending at all, we need to know.
That's the
Everybody.
important
Well, no,
thing.
just make sure Denny knows, because
okay.
he's got to make sure we have a proper head count for
Because
quorum.
I'm a true millennial, I hate to reply all,
Yeah.
you know that, right?
Right, Denny's not here, so we can blame him.
Okay, thank you. For the minutes.
Can I suggest, Artie, emailing Denny and Doug?
Sure,
That
I
way,
can
if,
do that.
you know,
Yeah.
either one.
Josette too, though, right? Should I?
Oh, Josette too, yeah.
Sure, okay. Thank you.
Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes? Do we want to vote on those tonight, or?
Sure.
Is that, yes, no?
I haven't reviewed the minutes,
Okay.
sorry. But you can vote on them and I'll abstain.
Anybody else?
A show of hands, who's read them or who
All right.
hasn't?
A show of hands, who's read them? All right,
Okay.
that's enough to take them up. Okay. All right, does anybody have any corrections for the minutes on Thursday, October 6th? I had one minor one. It looked like the word "is" in the, let's see, 1, 2, 3rd sentence needs to be removed. It says that the warrant is this year. And so I'm just removing the "is," so it will say the warrant this year is pretty standard. Yes. Did anyone else have anything? Then can I have a motion to accept the minutes of October 6th as amended?
Motion to accept as amended.
And a second?
Second,
Second.
All right, we'll give it to Adrian.
Adrian.
And roll call. Adrian?
Yes.
Audrey?
Yes.
I am a yes. Jean?
Abstain. I wasn't present.
Josette?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Larry?
Abstain.
Leanne?
Yes.
Lisa?
Abstain.
Mark Sullivan?
Abstain.
Mark Trudell?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
And Steve?
Yes.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 903? 4.
I think there's 4 abstains, yes?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, 904.
Okay.
The minutes for February 13th. I had a minor correction on the second page. It says Doug Shea asked about in the increase, so it's just removing in, about the increase, it will say. On Page 3, I had the compactor was spelled wrong. Does anyone have anything?
Motion to accept.
Second?
Mark and Scott. And Adrian.
Yes.
Audrey?
Yes. Oh, abstain. My fault.
Let me see. I am a yes. Jean?
Abstain.
Josette?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Larry?
Abstain.
Leanne?
Yes.
Lisa?
Abstain.
Mark Sullivan?
Abstain.
Mark Trudell?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
And Steve?
Yes.
So that's 805?
One other correction on October 6th. The head count was actually 11, and Jean should have been added to the absent list. I just noticed she abstained, but she wasn't on the attendance there.
All right, and the minutes for the 16th of February. I didn't see anything. Anybody else?
Motion to accept?
Motion to accept by Mark, second. Anyone?
Second.
Who is that? Deanne. All right, and Adrian,
Yes.
Audrey,
Abstain.
I am a yes. Jean,
Abstain.
Josette,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Abstain.
Larry,
Yes.
Leanne,
Yes.
Lisa,
Abstain.
Mark Sullivan,
Yes.
Mark Trudell,
Yes.
Scott,
Abstain?
and Steve.
Abstain.
Six.
So that's 7-0. 706. All right. And unless there's anything else, motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
All right. And Adrian,
Yep.
Audrey,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Jean,
Yes.
Josette,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Leanne,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Mark Sullivan.
Yes.
Mark Trudell.
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
All right. And 13-0, motion to adjourn has been accepted, and we meet again on Thursday night. Thank you very much.
Nice job, Doug. See you Thursday.